Hola. You're listening to First Gen Healing, a podcast on Latinx healing and awakening journeys. My name is Priscilla Luna, and today we have Danny as our guest. Danny is someone that I ran across on TikTok. I see him always doing his thing on live, and I'm so excited for you and I to get to know his story. So, Danny, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. What's up, y'all? My name is Danny. I'm from Oakland, or I was born in Oakland. I live in Richmond, California. Shout out to Richmond. I am Mexican, and yeah, I'm a tarot reader on TikTok. I started learning about Reiki as a healing modality, and I also started a yoga teacher training program. To allow myself to get more in tune with myself.
Okay, interesting. And we'll get into your story. But before that, so you grew up in Richmond. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your first gen experience. What was that like?
Yeah, well, first gen, yeah, my parents are from Mexico, like I said. They're from a little pueblo called Jocotepec in the state of Jalisco. My first gen experience, I don't know, I guess I would describe it as an interesting one. I feel like I've always been that person or that student that's never been a classic student, right? I've never been that straight A
Mm,
student. I've never been that kid that excels, like the quote unquote first gen experience usually does, right? A lot of people tend to over overdo it. I feel like, as a first gen, and I've never been that kind of guy at all.
Ooh, that's interesting. I love that. Okay. I think being that perfect student or, like the one that overdid it, I think this is going to be a super interesting conversations because I think sometimes those of us that overdo it is because we hear constantly the struggle or the sacrifices that our parents went through. That's something that's kind of like thrown in our faces a lot. And then we pick that up and take it as pressure to like really do something great, or be good with our lives. Do you feel like you received that or what was your experience like?
Well, my experience, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of unpacking there, right? I think because of what I was growing up with, that's why my parents didn't really push a lot of the classic thing to do. For them, it was just more important to just have a job. It wasn't even like you have to go to school, you have to do this, you have to do that. It was more so, just make sure that you'll be able to create sustainability for yourself. So
Okay.
I think that thought was internalized differently for me and my brothers, right? My oldest brother, it was like, I need to play soccer and I need to be dope at it, right?
Mm,
My middle brother was like, I need to go to school and I need to get a master's
yeah.
degree and I got to do all of that. And he did that, right? But for me, it was just like, I'm just trying to chase money at some point, right? And so I know literally because I wasn't that straight A student. And so I was just kind of like, how can I be creative in my sustainability, or how
mm,
can I make sure that I'm going to be okay? Just like my parents said, make sure that you're going to be okay.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, I think also we talk a lot about like the sibling aspect. So you're the youngest, it sounds
Mhm.
like. Got it. Okay. And did you experience any of like the translating, having to help your parents, or was that something that was managed by or taken care of by them or by your siblings?
Everyone had part of it, but I think it fell more on me and my middle brother.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it just it, it was difficult. I mean, that's always difficult, right? To be like 5 years old and then have that pressure of like, oh, lee esto que es legal, and you're like,
Yeah.
girl, I just learned how to freaking do
Say
multiplications
apples.
yesterday, and you're trying to make
Yeah.
me do your taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Aw, do you remember it as something that changed you, or it's just like one of many memories?
I learned now that it created, a lot of compassion, for
Mm,
anybody that's first gen, right? Because I think in this podcast, at least, we're talking about the Latino experience,
Yeah.
or the Latinx experience. But I think it did open up a lot of unpacking, or it opened up it created the avenue for me to just understand that anyone that's first gen in any culture kind of deals with the same stuff
Yeah.
in a different
Yeah.
way, but similar.
Yeah. I've thought about that too. It's so interesting, huh? And my content when I use like the hashtags first gen and stuff, it does end up like heading into different cultures, which has been interesting to see
Hmm.
like different groups of people kind of tune into my content too. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Even though it's like geared towards the Latin experience, like you said, there is a lot of similarities, right? In that, and there's a lot of us here that are first gen and that are experiencing similar things. So, you know that the podcast is on healing and or awakening journeys, and I'm so excited. This is always a surprise for me, so I'm interested to know which one you resonate with most and when you think that journey started for you.
If you would have asked me like 5 years ago, I would have told you at 22, I'm awakened, I'm woke now, or whatever, right? But as I continue to get older, I connect more with the idea of healing instead of awakening.
Okay.
Um, I think so. I started Danza Azteca when I was around 14, right?
Mm,
And that really catapulted me into the world of traditional spirituality, or some people call it ancestor worship, and that really almost created this idea of like, um, the world and the universe, and or God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's completely bigger than us, right? And we are interconnected. We are all interconnected, and everything that I do will also affect my neighbor, quote unquote, right? As they say.
mm, okay. And was that because of the instructors there or the dance itself? What kind of like introduced you to that
So
piece?
Danza Azteca, the way that I was taught, um, mimics the solar system. The way, yeah, it's trippy stuff, right? You think they're just moving around like twirling and stuff, but no, it's filled with
Wow.
prayer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Danza Azteca, like I said, mimics the solar system. The way it's you kind of dance is you are in a complete circle, right? Usually, traditionally, especially if it's a specific ceremony, and the people that lead the dance are in the middle, representing the sun, and everyone else is circled around that, and then it's like
Mm-hmm.
layer and layer and layer, kind of like when you drop like a, ¿cómo se llama? Una gota en el lago, y luego como que se hace the little ripple effect.
The
That's kind of
ripples.
what
Mm-hmm.
it creates, right? And so each layer is the designated people that show up. So like the most inner layer is usually the elders in the community, and then so on and so forth. And so it's supposed to represent the solar system, and the little kids that run around are supposed to represent comets, or because they don't necessarily have a place, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
in the ellipses that the planets do, but they jump around. They're a mind of their own, kind of thing, and it mimics that as well.
Wow. Yeah. Ooh, super interesting.
Mhm.
And is that something that like maybe your parents did before you, or were you the first to do that in your family?
Because Jocotepec is a little pueblo, they have a week, yearly fiestas. A lot of different pueblos have that,
Mm-hmm.
and Danza Azteca is huge there when the fiestas happen. And so when they honor the patron saint of Jocotepec, I was always interested in the danza, right? And so was my
Mm.
brother. And was I the first one? No. When my brother went to college, he went to UC Santa Cruz. He started at a danza group, and then we were walking around in Berkeley one day, and then we joined the group because we saw somebody there at UC Berkeley that was holding a Danza Azteca group.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were 14, 15 while he was in college.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Kicking it with some. college students.
And when you start to come into this awareness, is it like mind blowing to you at that time? You know, like maybe is it like new consciousness that's coming in? Or is it, I see you had like saying yes. Okay, so then how do you then like start to integrate it? Because you're a teenager. So I don't know exactly how it was received by you, you know? Yeah.
Um, I gained the power to cry, and I know that sounds so crazy, but I think for men in general, cis men, or or men, and every facet of what that means, learning how to cry and show your emotions is heavy, and it's huge. There's so much
Mm,
strength in that, to be vulnerable, right? So
yeah.
I learned how to do that there because, again, with my old TikTok name, it used to be Guerrero Tero, and a danzante in the danza community is also called a guerrero, which represents the internal battle that you're going through at any given moment. And everyone holds
Wow.
battles, and this is why you dress up as a warrior, right? And if you really pay attention to what the danzantes are dressed like, they have the a chimali, which basically is a shield. They have a rattle, which is supposed to kind of represent a weapon, and it's always that internal battle because you're doing something physical, but you're still sending prayers at the same time. So it's a way to kind of fight yourself, and it holds so much duality.
Wow. How interesting.
Mhm.
And how did learning how to cry come into play with this? So is it like part of their teachings, or how does that like play a part?
So I said that because there was a moment in my youth where I started seeing a lot of my friends either like join gangs and stuff, or kind of pick college, or pick
Mm,
their future kind of thing.
yeah.
And I started seeing a lot of people, women getting pregnant, and dropping out of school, and it's around that time where you start seeing those differences,
Yeah.
on how life is gonna take you to the different places, where your journey is just gonna take you. And so I remembered, one of my friends had gotten shot, and she was pregnant at the time, and so I remember just like going to danza, you know what I mean, and them talking about the battles that you have within yourself, keep on pushing or whatever, right? Play within your edges. um and I just started crying, and I was like, damn, like, why am I crying in front of these people? And everybody was like, oh no, qué bueno que estás llorando. And I'm just like, nah, fool, I don't want to cry. But I learned that vulnerability is beautiful, you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So yeah.
wow. Okay. So it didn't just open your mind to like awareness and consciousness of the universe and how we're interconnected, but it was also a lot of, it sounds like internal. Internally, it like connected you in a different way.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
And how did that change the way, like, since you're seeing this fork in the road, right? And I feel like I resonate with that too, where I think in high school, the cool people aren't the nerds, right? Aren't the ones that are doing great in school. And so most of us, in trying to find like to fit in, we're maybe like leaning into those friendship groups where they are starting to get pregnant and be cholos and all of that, right? And then there's the other aspect like, wait, but I was here to maybe go to college, or for me, it was like, maybe I think I want to go to college. So I think I need to separate. And there was an actual separation of friend groups. And I was like, okay, sorry, I have to focus. So for
Hmm.
you, what did it change in your life?
For me, it just kind of, because it was also a UC Berkeley group, I was also
Mm-hmm.
learning a lot about like ethnic studies, and you know, um, not like, it wasn't with the purpose, like the group was not, the purpose of it wasn't really to explore ethnic studies, but because we were doing something that was traditional, you can't help but start learning about your culture. And so in a way it empowered me, as an individual, and I started questioning a lot. I started questioning school a lot. I started questioning my place in the world. And for me, it was more so kind of like a reality because, one, like I said, I wasn't I wasn't a student that had good grades. I was always in like soccer and martial arts and boxing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But I only cared about having fun. Like I was skipping class. I was
Wow.
that kid. You know what I mean? So for me, it just kind of it made me really angry at one point, really angry with society, and almost made me feel like everything's a joke and everything is a lie. So
Mm.
because I felt that by colonizing, that it really affected the trajectory of people of color. And so for me, it was just like, it was heavy. And so
Yeah.
I also, in a way, was like, I don't care for school. School is an institution. I don't like institutions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I went through all of
Like
that.
F all the systems, I'm imagining.
Yes.
Yeah.
F all the systems. Yep.
Wow. Ooh, so interesting. Because I think like that's something that didn't come into consciousness until very later on in life. You know, it's not something I thought about. So for you to be thinking about that in high school, wow. And so what did that mean for you? How did it translate in your life? Feel like, okay, I want to go into ethnic studies? Is that where you were headed? Okay, no. You're like,
No,
no.
that's not my no. As I've gotten older, I've really been interested in stress management and chronic illness,
Mm,
and just understanding that people in the lower socioeconomic status, whatever race you may be, tend to have more chronic illness and tends to shorten your life. And so for me, my ultimate goal is to be a nationally board certified health and wellness coach and just give education on how to combat chronic illness and chronic stress, because even children are now, according to studies,
mm.
are showing chronic illness that is because I think the correct term is called like toxic stress in children.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was after that in what you consider your healing journey?
Yeah, so Danza Azteca really taught me to just go inward always. And so for me, it was more so of like, F all the systems, first and foremost. But then secondly, it was also kind of like a place for me to say, I want to just make sure that I'm good. And that same teaching that my parents were saying, like, because for them, especially since I'm the youngest, I think for them, what was most important is just to make sure that I got me. And my dad would
Mm,
always say, like, un día yo no voy a estar, un día no vamos a estar nosotros, yo no sé cómo le vas a hacer, pero un día te la tienes que averiguar. You feel me? And
yeah.
so that was always in the back of my mind. And so for me, I was always working in restaurants. And so I was like, I need a bartend because bartenders make the most money. You feel me? And so that was my goal. It was just always just to bartend and to make sure that I had a form of sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so Danza Azteca to me just created that essence of like, make sure you got you because these systems are not going to help you as well. So it's that
Mm.
same kind of consejo que me dio mi papá, almost rebranded, I guess, through the lens of Danza Azteca.
I
Yeah.
see. Interesting. Well, I think like that line of thinking can then create this distrust in life, right? Like if you're not trusting the system, you're you're maybe not trusting like the people within it, and so I'm imagining that it can create like this isolation maybe because there's anger behind it, right? There's this like, oh, they don't understand. um how did that like did is that something that you started to feel like, did it get heavy to then carry that? Because I feel like it feels heavy already, just like having this awareness, carrying it with you and owning it. Like, yeah, F these systems, they don't have me, but you're living kind of in society.
Yeah, oh, definitely. In a way, there was this almost hatred, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then it turned into resilience, and I think that's also what our community needs, right? The idea of how to create something negative into a positive through resilience-based training.
Interesting. I see. So there wasn't like a point that this kind of bubbled up and then you had to make amends with it, would you say?
No, I definitely had to do that.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that for me it's more so of like understanding that it's difficult, no, porque había mucho odio, but it was also about just understanding that um I think it was just from the help of my parents, right? If it wasn't my dad telling me like make sure that you have an avenue for yourself, I wouldn't have been able to turn that into like my power, you know what I'm saying? Or my
Mm-hmm.
strength, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I think my dad did help me a lot in that way.
I see. I see. So you took it on as like, okay, knowing this, then I know that I have to have me and I have
Hmm.
to pave a way for myself, it sounds like.
Yeah, because he would always explain that, when he came to this country, he came to this country at 13 years old. Um, a él no le dieron nada, you feel me? And he came at 13 because he was able to through the Bracero program. I don't know if you're familiar with that program.
Mm. I've heard of it, but I don't know like details of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically the US was giving people green cards to be able to work over here on the fields. And so my grandparents
Oh.
were able to do that, and they were able to receive citizenship to work here. And so then le
Wow.
arreglaron los papeles a mi papá, and so he came at 13. And so his whole thing was just kind of like he's like the story is ingrained in my brain, right? Where my
Mm-hmm.
grandfather was like, yo nomás te voy a dar esto and tú haz tu futuro como puedas, tú averiguas como puedas, like we don't got no money. This is it. Do it. And so that kind of ideology still lives in my dad, and I think it very much has empowered me to be like, pues yo de una manera también lo voy a hacer, a
Mm-hmm.
gritos, como sea, like,
Yeah,
you know
you'll
what I'm
find a
saying?
way.
I'll hustle. I
Yeah.
gotta hustle. You feel me? I got a hustler mentality. That's really what it is.
Yeah. So if you were to describe like what was next in your healing journey, what was it?
Mm. So after I saw like my friend group split in high school, I started really being interested in yoga, right? Because first off, I thought it was really cool that people can do like handstands, and that's what really got me into it. And um, and so I just went on YouTube, started learning, started getting into meditation because I saw it as, although this isn't my culture, that's South Asian practice. It's still a form of quote unquote danza, right? Something that is
Mm,
still alive today and suffered from colonization, but is still alive today. It's still a practice. It's still a traditional practice. It's wisdom from the elders, right?
mm. And so you started doing yoga, and what did that do for you?
It allowed me to even think about the present moment. I never like, and I don't. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Julieta Venegas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I
Well,
wasn't
she had.
expecting her after yoga, but sure.
I mean, no, but well, first off, she is a yogi too, so you
Oh,
feel
okay,
me?
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. También
Okay.
Natalia Lafourcade, all of them do yoga.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Julieta has a song called El Presente, right? And I
Mm,
never really truly understood the concept of the present moment until I started doing yoga and meditation and and stillness based practices. And I didn't understand how sweet the present moment can be, right? Um, Instead of thinking of past or future, right? Instead of
yeah.
tapping into anxious moments or depressive moments, right, in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
The power of now.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, that book is amazing. And that was the book that really like brought the present to me. I feel like it like gave me an idea of what that was. But yeah, that's so interesting because I think that a lot of us don't come into the knowing of the present until later on in life, right? And it's not to blame anyone, but I think a lot of us, our parents were in survival mode, we're in survival mode. And so it's not until we like start to dabble into these mindfulness things, right, that we can start to get into the knowing of the present. So at this time, how old were you?
At this time, I was about 20, 21.
21. So as a 21-year-old, you're coming to the knowing of the present. What does that do for you? Like, do you feel different than, because I don't know. I don't know how many 21-year-olds are thinking about the present, you know, and like and being here now. So as a 21-year-old, what did that actually look like in your day-to-day?
I moved out. I was like, although I'm not going to college, although I'm not doing the traditional regular thing, I can't
Mhm.
be with my family anymore, right? And so me and my middle brother decided to move out together because we just couldn't be in a space with my parents anymore. Although I talk a lot about my dad and I love my dad, and um, he is very toxic masculine, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
He's very machista, and I say that with love and respect, right? Because I think I also do want to almost form. He brings whatever he was taught, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so it's not his fault per se, but I think it's our responsibility now in this generation to try to like challenge um, toxic masculinity and challenge um, things that are just outdated. You know what I'm saying? In general, in everything, in every facet.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about that in a second, but with knowing that about your father, did it start to clash with what you were becoming interested in? Is that what happened? Or it was beyond that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, I mean, my dad didn't talk for a while. We didn't. There was like a while
Mm,
where no nos hablábamos, you know. And it's not to like be like, oh, boohoo me or whatever. No, because now I see the like how ingrained thoughts can be in your brain, and now I see how difficult it can be to change as well, right? And so to
yeah.
the people that are trying, to the people that, like more power to y'all,
Yeah.
because it's difficult to change. Change is scary, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Change is scary. It's hard. And I think that's why it's a part of the journey. Like, because it can be easy to maybe just discard or discredit people that are not aligning with our new awareness or our new us, right? But when you're on the journey and you try to change things for yourself, you recognize how difficult, challenging change is, and it gives you that empathy that now you can like turn backwards or turn to your parents and give that to them, right? And understand that like it is hard to change belief systems, narratives that that are really ingrained within you. But I just want to like maybe get a little bit more depth into what is it like, was there a clash between your dad and you in regards to like yoga and the way you were living your life and seeing life? Is that what came to the surface?
I moved out, like I said, because me and my father just weren't talking anymore. My dad and my mom, they've had a toxic relationship throughout their whole life. I'd almost felt like I was el paño de lágrimas to my mom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was just kind of
Yeah.
like, I can make space for you, but I can't hold your pain anymore. It's
Yeah.
unfair. It's unfair for a child to take on all of this pain. It's unfair for a child to then create a distorted reality on what the
Yeah.
relationship looks like because it has gotten way too personal, right? I'm hearing and listening to everything that you need to tell somebody else, either a friend, a therapist, somebody. You feel me? But you're
Mm-hmm.
telling your kid. And that is also creating a negative worldview. It's creating a negative perspective, right? So
Yeah.
there was a point where I was like, aquí, la gota que derramó el vaso. Yo me voy. You feel me?
Wow. Okay, I see now. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think I was just trying to see like it if it knowing that you were exploring these other types of things if it was that, but I see. And you had the awareness to know that it wasn't for you to hold, which I think a lot of us don't come into that awareness right away. Like we think it's our responsibility and duty as children of immigrants who gave up so much for us to hold everything, right? To be their what did you like their paño de lágrimas. But so cool that you were able to see that for yourself, that it wasn't necessarily your place, and that there were maybe better ways of her managing that through other resources, right? Or other people, and not just you. Wow. Speaking about putting others' needs before yours, hola, first gen. This is Priscilla. I'm the host of the podcast, and I'm taking a quick break from this episode to share something with you. If you are listening to this podcast, then the chances are high that you are a Latina, Latino, Latine going through a healing or awakening journey. And as a first-gen Latina who has been on both journeys, I know firsthand how challenging it can be to prioritize your own needs, even as an adult. It can be frustrating to know that you have more potential in you, but at the same time, not be able to stay consistent with a morning routine, or feel that as you're doing the inner work, you're losing sight of who you really are, which can make it hard to know what you like or what you want. You likely crave knowing your authentic self more, but just aren't sure how to go about it. And even though you have started setting some boundaries and expressing your needs, you likely wish you felt more confident in using your voice. If you didn't know, I'm a Latina intuitive coach, and I have dedicated the last year and a half to speaking with fellow first-gen Latinos on healing and awakening journeys. I've done this not only with the 30-plus guests of this podcast, but also through my social media platforms and by doing one-on-one coaching sessions with many first-gens. What I have noticed is that these are the common challenges that many of us face at some point of our journey. And so I have combined all of the knowledge that I have gathered to create a program where I walk you through these challenges and introduce you to the tools that will help you navigate these phases of your journey. I am so excited to share this with you. The program is called Nuevas Raíces because in order to move into the next phase of your journey, first gen, you will need to root into new habits, perspectives, and tools. Nuevas Raíces is a 6-week group coaching program where you will receive guidance, support, accountability, and community. Because this program is a group program, which means that you get to be surrounded by like-minded first-gen Latinos who understand. They too are going to be going through this journey, and together we will be working on getting you from being your inner self's distant cousin to your own bestie. I am so excited because I know that this program will help you gain the self-trust, clarity, and confidence that you have been craving. It's going to be so powerful. We do start in just a couple of weeks, so make sure that you save your seat by clicking on the link in the episode description and signing up. I truly can't wait for you to experience everything that I have planned for you. It's going to be so special. Okay, now let you get back to the episode. Well, I want to come back also to the comment that you made about us letting go of older ways, right? Or us being I see us as like bridges to what could be. And I love, and I think I gauge that in this generation, what I love is that there isn't this false pride in the way things used to be. I love that we're willing to let go of the way that things used to be. If it no longer aligns with what we see is right now, whether it's being supportive of LGBTQ love, right? Hey, I don't care the way things used to be. We understand love is love. Let's let it go. We don't have to be oh, well, 20 years ago it wasn't like this. But I do see that with our parents' generation, where they hold on to what they grew up with, what they think, and they're not willing to let it go and open their minds in that way.
Yeah, I think it is beautiful now. I think there's a lot of work to be done in different systems, right? In all the systems, everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
No, but I think it's also kind of like just that idea of I think we just got tired, and I also feel like in a way the pandemic also helped. Um
Mm.
because I think we especially like because well, I'm a millennial, right? Not to age myself, but I'm a millennial, and the next one is Gen X, correct? Right? No, Gen
I
Z,
think so, and
Gen
then
Z.
Gen Z. Hmm.
And so I think Gen Z, and I shout out Gen Z for this. A lot of people sometimes give them hate, and I don't know, I don't really know why perpetuate more hate in the world, but that's a whole other conversation.
Mm.
But they've been very vocal, and they've been very just like upfront and genuine with how they handle people and things. And if they don't like something, they'll let you know, and they'll tell their friend, and their friend is going to tell their friend, and they're going to post it online, and then it's going to go viral, right? And so in a way, I think um, that has made even celebrities nowadays, right, been very conscious about what they're putting
Hmm.
out. So I do think Gen Z for that a little bit. I think the millennials started questioning, but it was a questioning of the self more, whereas the Gen Z is questioning the external more. I think
Mm.
because for us, it first had to mirroring that metaphor of like when you ride an airplane, first we got to put the mask on ourselves y luego lo podemos ayudar a otra persona. And so I
Yeah.
think that's also key for us. I think we needed to just take a pause, our generation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think like our parents were carrying a really heavy baton and it made us question like is it even worth carrying, you know? Like is it worth carrying the same cycle or the same rhythm of life and all of that? I think a lot of us are still in that like or like you said there's still a lot of work to be done, right? But I think also like you said it's something that's done across generations and that's beautiful too. I think even as much as we can judge our parents' generation, they probably did some of the legwork too. You know, every generation is kind of doing their own piece. And yeah, shout out to Gen Z. I think, though, what's going to happen is right now there's like this there's still in a way it's cool but there's this still this flock mentality. I feel
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I kind of sense, right? And I think that what's gonna be next is like leveling it out a bit to where like yes we call out BS where we see BS but we also are thinkers of ourselves and we're not just like oh so and so said it okay then I'm gonna go say it but more like let's like really individuate essentially.
definitely. Yeah, it's always funny to see kind of like what each generation, um, what is their vibe. You know what I'm saying? Because the my parents' generation was, I'm gonna be a martyr. Y yo me voy a sacrificar por todos. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
our generation is like, no, the self, we have to take care of ourselves. And
Self
Gen Z,
love,
you
self
know what I
care.
mean? It's always funny. It's always funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and we think we're unique, but yeah, there's probably a lot of flaws in our thinking, right? And that Gen Z will be pointing out to us in not too much time. Well, back to your story though. We're getting, we're taking a little tangent, but back to you. Okay. So you move out and what's another big moment in your healing journey that like stands out to you?
Oh, the first time I picked up tarot cards, I picked them up at like 22. I picked up the traditional card. So um, tarot has a crazy history, man. It has a crazy
Mm.
history. Um, Also, shout out to Pamela Smith. People don't understand or don't know. I'm gonna say they don't know that the cards that we use now was actually created by a Jamaican woman. So shout out
Ooh.
to people of color and women of color, porque siempre no, they don't get enough recognition.
Yeah. Pamela
But
Smith. Okay.
Pamela Cole Smith or something like that. No, I need to check the actual name. But if you check the that's what it's called, the Rider Waite Smith deck. Smith is from her name.
Oh, okay.
Random
And how
fact.
did you Yay! The more you know. Okay. So,
Right.
how did you like? Tell me more. Tell me more about how when you first picked up a deck.
So yeah, yeah. So I was like 21, 22, I was already in my apartment with my brother, and
Mm-hmm.
I was, I guess, like finding God in a way, right? And finding because I knew that we were all interconnected, beautiful, right? I learned that from Danza Azteca. But I still hadn't had, I feel like, although that was a spiritual experience and healing at some point, I still question like, okay, but like what's next? What is the like how can I connect more? You know what I mean? Because in a way I was getting mad at Catholicism, but in a way that was the only way that I grew up with through spirituality and religion. So I was like, I need
Mm.
to somehow get back into it. And so I picked up cards. I was just like, I picked up the traditional baraja española is what they call it. And it looks like the regular deck of cards pretty much. And it doesn't have the major arcana. It's just kind of the minor arcana. And so a regular tarot deck consists of major and minor arcana, which is, we can get into it a little bit deeper, but I started just playing with it, and I started really looking at them and tapping into my intuition and like what those cards make me feel when I pull a card. Um, and that was my other spiritual, I guess, journey because it allowed me to really be more reflective with myself. Like, what is actually going on with me? Like, what am I
Mm.
actually feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just being angry at systems and feeling connected, but also knowing that there's a lot of disconnect because of big systems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I started diving into tarot, and it wasn't like I wasn't strict about it, but I started picking
Okay.
it up.
How interesting. So you started to use it as a way to connect, it sounds
Mhm.
like. Further connection. And did you start to feel that? Because I think that in this search, sometimes we think it has to be major, like this major, like, oh, moment,
Yeah.
right? Where we feel connected. It's like, oh, that's what I was looking for. But what I have found, at least in my journey, it's a bunch of little moments, and it's a bunch of little synchronicities. And like, big picture, it does feel like connection. But in the moment, I'm always like craving more. So
Mm.
what happened on your end? Like, how was it
Yeah.
for you?
Same. I think I was expecting that like que me iba a salir like que se iba a partir el cielo and you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then I was gonna just start flying and floating and shit. Like I really felt like when am I gonna do that? You know?
When is it my turn?
Right, right. No, for real. But no, I started realizing that again, that idea, shout out Julieta Venegas, el presente, right? It's always about understanding the present moment, and so it did tap me into that. Um, and then after that, I kind of just I kept on doing Danza Azteca, and then I decided to go back to school. And when I went back to school, I went to SF State. Years had passed, so I was like 25 at that time. So again, non-traditional student. And then I found out that they had a holistic health program there. And so we
Okay.
did a lot of stress management. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like stress is a killer and it's the biggest killer. But it doesn't get talked about or it doesn't get that much light, I feel like. And we also had classes on psychophysiology, which is basically placebo effects. And that made me question spirituality so much more and made me realize that whatever we give power to is just gonna give us power as well. Um, and then after that, that's when the pandemic hit, and I dropped out of school again. And I was like, man, I
Wow.
need a break. And so I applied to be a health educator, and then I got burnt out. And after I got burnt out, I realized I need to go back to me, and so I signed up for a yoga teacher training program at Stanford, and I got in. And
Wow.
it's based on yoga psychology or yoga psychiatry. It's part of their psychiatry program, and it's therapeutic yoga or holistic yoga. And so it's
Mm.
meant to be very much individualized, and we tap into people's they call it their guna states in traditional yoga, which basically it it helps align you with what kind of how altered your central nervous system is, and through yoga. And so because it's therapeutic yoga or holistic yoga, it brings up a lot of the philosophy of the ancients again, or the ancestors, to bring a more ethical life. So
Wow.
yeah.
Dang, Danny, you've taken us on a trip on this episode. Wow. I don't know if you notice it, but I mean, do you feel like right now you're really aligned with where you're supposed to be?
I mean, I
No.
don't think
Okay.
I don't like that word. And I think again, if I
Mm.
was like 21, I would be like, see, I'm so aligned. I got all my crystals. I'm good. You feel me? But I think as I get older, like what is alignment?
Okay, let me rephrase then. Are you happy with where you're at in your life?
It feels genuine, and I think that
Okay.
that's key.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the reason that I ask is because I think that what I'm seeing is like throughout your life, you really have followed, like, I don't know if you like the word intuition, but your heart, it sounds like you, even just you saying like, I focused on my fun, and that's something that I kind of like work on with people and with myself because that's new to me. Like, I didn't ever
Mm.
focus on my fun. I focused on what's the most logical, responsible thing to do, for survival, essentially, like in this country. So cool that like you have focused on fun and maybe like things that interest you. And it sounds like it's really leading you down like really cool paths that, I don't know, they leave a trail of your essence. I don't know if that's too like out there for you, but that's just
No,
what
it's
I'm
not at
seeing.
all.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. And now that you're ended up in Stanford, like how is that experience? Is that an online program or are you okay? It's an online
Well,
program. How
hybrid,
does
but yeah.
okay? How does that feel being there after like such an up and down, different type of life that you've had?
Um, I'm the only person of color, pretty much. You know,
Okay.
there's two other people of color. Yeah.
Okay.
um, damn, no. It's it feels no. Okay. They have more people of color. Like if I were to count them, I think there's like five out
Okay.
of like 20 something. It's a small cohort. Everyone, so that program was based on people that were working at a clinic or hospital or any kind of um, medical field, right? There was encouraged if you were a medical anything like to apply to it. And so when I briefly talked about how I was very much burnt out as a health educator, so I was going
Mhm.
to SF State for holistic health. And I was like, I got to leave bartending. Like there was something in me that was like almost like a internalized anxiety moment of like, I have to leave bartending because although I make enough money and I can save money with bartending, like that's not what society is telling you to do. Like you have to have a 9 to 5, right? And it was very like almost
Mm.
like weird, right? This
Mhm.
thought that arose out of nowhere, and it arose during the pandemic, and I think it was because I couldn't bartend during the pandemic. No tenía trabajo, you feel me? And so it
Yeah.
was just kind of like I need something that's always going to be there, and so I applied to be a health educator, and then I got burnt out, and um, they didn't pay me enough. You feel me? Like I was making hella little money, and I was just like worried about money, and I was like, damn, I've never been like, gracias a Dios, I've never been this worried about money before, right? And the
Mhm.
messed up thing about it is that my program was based on providing food for people that needed it, and most of it I was just kind of like,
Wow.
damn, I need this food now, you feel me?
Mm.
Because working at a nonprofit, although it's beautiful work, I feel like they don't pay people enough, you know?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so once I experienced that burnout, I was just like, me voy a echar like las pilas or whatever. I don't know. Like that saying can be kind of toxic too, but like in a way I was like, no, like I need to be very aware and upfront about my needs. And yes, the community, I would love to help the community, but right now I can't. I cannot. No se puede. Being
Yeah.
at Stanford, I think it is different, right? I think when we have in-person classes, me siento solo, you know what I'm saying? Because even the people of color that are there, they're pretty wealthy, and the layers of money, or the privilege of money, it shows. You feel me? It shows with the Lululemon. It shows with the, you know what I mean?
Leggings.
Right. No, for
Yeah.
real though.
Yeah. The
Like it
Erewhon
shows.
groceries.
You feel me? And so for me, it's like, I grew up in the Bay. I grew up, in Richmond. You know what I'm saying? This is not, um, everyone is of color here. You feel me? Like,
Mm,
so my community has always looked diverse without me realizing that it was diverse. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
And so it's weird. It's different, and it almost challenged me to think about, am I supposed to be here or am I just a token again, right?
Mm,
And I think that is something that first gen questions so much. Am I supposed to be here? Am I worthy of this? Or am I just a
yeah.
little demographic?
Mm, yeah. Am I enough? And what has that answer been for you? Because I think that you're not necessarily in a traditional program,
Mm-hmm.
right? It seems like it's one that honors ancestral knowledge and things of that nature. So, what answer has come to you when you question those things?
Um, But that's part of my internalized thing, right? Because it's part of the psychiatry program, or the School of Psychiatry at Stanford. It's a lot about, like, first check in with you. Like, if you can't acknowledge your own baggage, let's call it baggage, then it's gonna be difficult to acknowledge baggage in other people, and then you won't be of service,
Mm,
to the broader collective. And so it has forced me to think about that. But it has also, what I do appreciate about it is that, like, the first month, all we talked about was, the ethics of yoga, right? And yoga is all about the first, like, for my Catholics out there, el primer mandamiento de yoga.
uh
It's non-violence and non-harm, right?
mm,
And so that's all we talked about, right? Like, how yoga as a industry in the West has created so much more harm than good, because um it makes people feel that you have to be this super skinny, super, like,
mm,
blonde, um person to practice the art of yoga, right? You can't be of color,
mm,
in the West, and practice yoga. You
yeah,
can't be any form of masculine presenting either, if you practice
mm,
yoga. You know what I mean? You can't do
yeah,
that because it goes against um what the, like, industrial complex of yoga has been in the West.
mm-hmm,
But little do people, or it has failed yoga. I think the West has failed yoga, because it comes from South Asia. It's an of color practice.
yeah. So interesting, huh? How that can always happen here. It can be flipped and distorted in so many ways. But do you feel like that empowers you knowing that like maybe these insecurities are also stemming from that same distorted place, you know?
At first, no. At first, no. Like, I was very much like, because a lot of these people have PhDs. A lot of these people have masters. Dude, I don't even have an
Mm,
AA. You feel me? I'm working on
mm,
my AA right now. Like, I don't even have a bachelor's. I don't have anything. You feel me? And it's not to say that I'm not equipped with knowledge. It's not to, and it's also not to give power to these pieces of paper, because at the end of the day, they're just pieces of papers. Yes, you read a book, like, great, right? But I think the school of life can also teach you, right? And that's also important. What you learn on the streets, what you learn in life in general, and how you apply that knowledge, right?
yeah.
Because some people have degrees and they like
They still
they
half-ass their
don't.
job. They don't care. It's just a paycheck. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting, Danny, because I think that like starting off, you started off from a very young age already saying F the systems and understanding that there's a lot of distortion within them. But then it also like it's so interesting that at some point it is hitting you in a way that it hits a lot of us, right? Like it's still, despite you knowing that these systems were not necessarily made for us and that they're not the best, right, at what they're or they're not doing what they were intended to do, they still in a way make you feel less than, or at some point you allowed it to make you feel less than. And I know you don't resonate with awakening, but I think like I've seen it in my journey where I think that's what a lot of us are facing right now that are wanting to really step into purpose and like do something, beyond ourselves, is quieting the noise of not worthiness, getting past systemized like certificates, right? Like this goes beyond. This is like knowledge that comes from within, and like knowing that what we're here to do is beyond all of this. So it's beyond the people around you. You're there to get the knowledge that you need to do, serve your, or maybe not call it purpose, but do what you want to do, help people in the way that you've seen they need help. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully those voices quiet down. I mean, I've been dealing with them lately too. They've been coming up so hard. The more I want to step into what I think I'm here to do, the louder they get. But yeah, hopefully we can callarlos, because yeah,
Yeah. I
they're not
just
serving us.
Yeah, I just bought this book. I forget it went kind of viral on TikTok. I haven't really gotten the chance to read it because I'm still finishing up the program. Um, but it's about like creativity, and it's like the I'm gonna have to just like send you a DM or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's about that, stepping out and saying, you know what, like, chingue su madre todo, de aquí soy yo, and I'm just gonna fucking do it, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to do. It's easier said than done, but it's require I think like these paths are requiring us to do that, and step outside of that. Wow. Well, is there any other piece that you're like, this is important about my journey that I would like to mention before we wrap up?
What is important? I don't know. I don't know. Like, nothing's really coming to mind. Um, I feel like we can talk for hours, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I want to wrap this one up so we do part two. Because in part
Okay.
two, we're going to dive into this beautiful knowledge that you have been acquiring through the different experiences that you've allowed yourself to go through. So I like to do a really short section about resources for people that are resonating with your story. Maybe you can recommend a book that has
Oh,
been helpful for you. And then I have a couple other recommendations that I'll ask you for.
yeah, yeah. Two of my favorite books that I learned a lot from was Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. I know it sounds really funny, but but it's about the
Yeah.
stress response. And I think once people start understanding that we can completely hijack our central nervous system through breath, through grounding exercises, like that will combat a lot of chronic illness. Can even, so that one, it's I forget. I know that the guy that wrote it is, I forget his name, but he's a professor at like Harvard or something. And yeah,
Mm,
Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers is really good.
okay.
My second book, the classic, the Four Agreements. I think that book
Mm,
is still powerful, you know?
yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Okay. What is a habit that you do for yourself every single day?
So I am a Reiki master, so I do practice Reiki meditation. Um, Let me first get into what Reiki is. Reiki is is a healing modality from Japan. Um, Again, another person of color. I'm telling you, we know stuff. But it was developed in Japan by a Buddhist monk. And you know, when you were a kid and you scraped yourself and te dolía un chingo y luego venía tu mamá o tu papá or something and would kiss it and
Mm-hmm.
the pain would go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Reiki. That's what Reiki in
Aww.
essence is, right? The power of love, right? The power of compassion and kindness. And so there's affirmations that come to Reiki, and I try to at least say the affirmations, maybe not meditate completely, but you start off with like saying, you know, a true source energy or God or the universe, spirit guides, whatever you're connected to, like please allow me to connect to the Reiki energy of the universe. And then you say like, for today I will be kind, for today I will not worry, for today I will do my best, for today I will be honest, um, and for today I will not get angry. And then you practice your Reiki on others. And so first,
Mm.
again, check in with yourself, and then to be able to help other people.
Wow, that's beautiful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Is that would that be also a healing or mindful tool that you use every day, or is that different for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like when I wake up, me hago mi cafecito because you know I'm Latino. I need my coffee. You feel me?
Yes,
I try
yes.
to say it. I say it. You know, you feel me? I say it, and it does really set the tone. It sets the tone for the day, right? And then if I
Okay.
get challenged, or if I get, or if I feel some type of way throughout the day, I go back to wait. I already told myself I'm not gonna get angry. I'll acknowledge the anger, but I'm not gonna get there. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Influencer that you follow that leaves you positively inspired.
I would say you. Honestly, you're one of them. You're definitely one of them. I think you
Aw.
have created a voice for. You have. I almost see you as like a thread, right? And are joining other first gen creators that are at the very least trying to help their community in some way, shape, and form, right? I mean, it's
That's
we do this out of
beautiful.
love. I think we do this out of love to ourselves, but most importantly, to also want to give love to other people, right? In the Buddhist tradition, you call that a bodhisattva, which is like I have come to a place where I feel quote unquote healed, but I need to make sure there's more healing in the world, right?
Mm,
Prime example,
yeah.
Harriet Tubman. She was freed, right? But she continued to go back to continue to free other people.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. It is out of love because I found a way to make money through HR, but that wasn't what I was here to do. That's why I left it, because it's not, I realize it's not about that. So, yeah. Wow. I love that. Thank you. Last one. A feel good movie, something that you watch. It could be completely like not healing related. Uh, yeah. That just makes you feel good.
I don't know. I mean, I watch movies. Um,
Like for me, it's super bad.
Super bad. That movie's I like it
It's
though.
dumb, but it like
It's dumb, but I love it.
yeah, it just
Fuck,
makes or
no, it's
Nacho Libre too. That was a
Nacho
good one.
Libre. Oh my god. Um, any of the Marvel movies, I am a
Mm,
Marvel stan. You feel me? All of them make me feel like oh my god, so powerful. I think the last Black Panther movie
okay.
in particular.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Is there anything that you would like to tell first gens that are listening?
Oh, from RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, then how the hell are you gonna love somebody else?
Period.
Period.
All right, everyone. Oh, thank you so much for listening to us, for listening to this episode. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. Make sure that you share it with your amigas, amigos, amigues if you found it helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, first gen, that I love you, I love me, and I can't wait for you to love yourself.